This is Flowers on the Stage.
I could argue that the very first track that I signed is the happiest I've ever been. So when I had no money, but I don't know, that could be true, might not be true. Um, I don't think anything really changes that much. It's kind of a fallacy that the more money that you make and the bigger stages that you play, the happier you get. I think you're just either happy or you're not happy. And I do believe that is true. I think that I haven't seen my personality really change at all. Even when I was making mustard sandwiches to like driving a really nice car, it's always the same. I feel the same.
I'll say the cliche, so you don't have to. Money doesn't buy happiness, more money, more problems, right? Something like that.
Definitely more money, more details. There's a lot of shit to worry about. Yeah. But is it really a problem? I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
I like that.
it's good to have some money. I'm not gonna lie about that. There it's not bad to have some money to be able to do stuff and like not worry about certain things and have kids and be able to let them go to school and do stuff. That's nice, but I don't know if that's what makes you happy.
Hmm. So zooming out, like looking at music in general and really anything in general, I'd love to hear your take on what you think are some of the differences between really good artists and then some of, ultimately like the greatest of all time.
Yeah, um, I think this is a good question. And I think that the people that really stick out to me are not always the most popular. They're the ones that are doing something unique, usually, or something very themselves. And I think those are the best artists, in my opinion. But everyone has an opinion. Some people just think that the most popular artists are the best artists. And every once in a while, that is true. But I really believe that a lot of people are in the mindset that they're like, I just need to get this song to sound like this song. And that does work. So you can get pretty far by making this trap beat sound like that trap beat. But is it really, will you be remembered, or is it creating a grassroots like fan base that will follow you anywhere? Probably not.
I know that this might change depending on the season, but I'd love to hear like your musical philosophy with what type of music you want to make.
Well, right now it's very different than 3 or 4 years ago, or even a year ago. I was always into everything from funk to jazz to rap to all kinds of music, classical. But I just got into house because I was good at it. And sometimes you just roll with what you're is working, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. That works. I got good at making house. I don't feel like I made the same house that everyone else was making, especially in the beginning. And therefore, people kind of latched onto it right out of the gate. And then it just took me a long time it almost took me selling that record label to reassess and go back to square one and say, okay, I'm just going to make anything, which is where I am right now. And I don't know, it's more fun right now, but it's I'm predicting your follow-up question without even you asking it, but it's more fun right now. But there's also something to be said for being like an expert and diving really deep into one thing.
Yeah, like do you see yourself coming back to house music maybe with a different perspective?
Yes, I actually think it will be much easier because I've done a lot of different kinds of production now, which I'll don't be mad at me, house producers, made me realize how easy it is to make house music compared to some other kinds of music and DJ it. Honestly, very it's not as hard as I made it out to be originally.
Jumping away from just from like talking about making music, right? And just talking about music itself.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear what you think it is about music that can cause for it to heal people.
Yeah, I think you're kind of giving yourself over to it. So if you think of almost every other situation besides dancing to music, you're you're almost always thinking about what other people are thinking about you in a conversation, in your job, trying to talk to a girl, whatever. But mate, when you're dancing at a rave or a place with like low lights, it's kind of almost a meditation state, and you're able to let go. I mean, some people aren't able to get to this place, but the people who are able to go there are kind of letting go of their inhibitions a little bit more than they would like packing groceries at Trader Joe's or whatever is their daily grind, and or whatever they do, trading stocks, whatever, being a doctor. There there's just something about it that lets them be free.
Do you ever think about, as an artist, what the actual sounds are doing to the mind of the listener and how you can like work
Yes.
that in? Yeah,
Yes. Yes, a lot. Mostly, I don't know why, but mostly I'm thinking of how I can kind of break their mind.
so how
Like
can you like give us a crash course?
it's like manipulating a sound in a way that you wouldn't imagine would be a thing, or creating a pattern and a certain style of a sound that it's just it's if you're in the right state of mind, it'll just really freak you out. I was even doing that in the house, like almost like planting things in the tracks so that certain people were getting a lot of benefit.
I dig it.
In each episode of Flowers on the Stage, we will be featuring an organization whose mission we want to amplify. We'd like to give a shout out to this week's featured organization, Daybreaker. Daybreaker is a global community and social experiment, bringing sober dance parties to over 30 cities around the world. Their mission inspires people to wake up in the morning and dance, to bring their gloriously unabashed selves to a sunrise yoga session, then straight to the dance floor surrounded by like-minded people. Daybreaker emphasizes community based around wellness, camaraderie, and mischief. Find dates on their upcoming tour and more info about their work at daybreaker.com. To nominate a future featured organization, message us on socials with a link to the organization you'd like to nominate. Now, back to the episode.
I dig it. What would you say are the main personality traits that you most appreciate in like, people you work with, whether that's artists you're collaborating with, managers, venue people, like what do you most appreciate in people professionally?
The best kind of people to work with are not necessarily like me. I'm not, I wish I was more like this. But the best people to work with are the people that will, even if they can't do it, they'll try to do whatever needs to be done, or they'll have a really positive attitude on trying to make something happen, even if it's impossible. That's just a good attitude to be around. Even, like, even if they can't raise the table 5 inches, at least they are going to make a go at it and like see if they can, as opposed to the dude who's just like, no fucking way. We've been here since 7 o'clock. Da, 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 da. You know what I mean? I don't know.
For
You
sure.
get what I mean.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'd love to hear what advice you can share about, living life and doing it in a way where you can look back and be proud of it.
You got some crazy questions. Hmm. Okay. So I'm not sure how to answer this, but I will say that I have this kind of thing like that I say to myself a lot where I just go, it's just dance music. So, like, I know that's not the actual answer to your question, but it is an answer for life in general where everybody's so wound up about something, right? But everybody's wound up in everything. So, like, surfers are wound up about this kind of wax, and the guy at the factory's wound up that the guy took a 25-minute break instead of a 15-minute break. And I'm wound up that I don't like the top 10 on Beatport. And somebody's wound up about whatever. And I think when you look back, you just want to be like, did I appreciate everyone and everything? And did I have a good time? And did I make people smile? And did people enjoy themselves around me? And did I enjoy myself? That is like the secret of life. So just realize that next time you're like, this guy's an idiot and I hate these vocals or whatever. Yeah, there's like everybody's saying that about every single thing that ever is going on. Like, I hate the way that that guy wrote about the hummingbird survey or whatever. Like, it's who cares?
Well said. I love it. I love it. So I'd love to hear like what growth looks like for you now. Like at this point in where you're at, what specifically you're looking at getting better at.
Yeah, I wish I could make things that I hear. There's a certain level of engineering in some of the parts of the genres that I play now that I'm not at that level, but I really appreciate the sound of it and I wish I could do it better. And I'm just, I'm not very mathematical or high tech like routing person. I just know where to put things to make them sound good. I don't know actually how to make them necessarily mix sonically well together as I wish I did. And that's just kind of like the state of the world. This is such a weird answer. This is the state of the world in music. It's like now you have to be the singer, the songwriter, the engineer, the mastering person, and everything. You don't have to, but that's kind of what everyone's doing. Like people are just turning in finished mastered tracks and they know how to do all the steps. Those are very roundabout answers that I'm giving you, but I'm trying to get there.
I love it. And I mean, it's not like it's not like when we talk about growth, right? Like there's like one
Yeah.
thing, like obviously there's like we wear all these hats, and like with one specific hat, there's like, you climb a hill, and then over that hill, oh, there's a mountain over there, and then you
Yeah.
climb that, and you realize you're just getting started.
Yeah, I will say that there is a trap in music business where you could say, "Oh, I want to get good at social media, and I want to get good at music, and I want to get good at engineering, and I want to get good at merch, and I want to get good at the live editing my live show time code, whatever thing." And that is a trap because you're probably only going to get really good at one of those things, like really good.
Yeah.
And the more that you get good at all of them, the less good you are at all.
Well, hey, maybe bringing this a little more big picture again, I'd love to hear just talking about life, right? Like not as much about being a professional artist, just like life. What's something you believe nowadays that when you were younger you didn't believe?
I think maybe I didn't understand at all the implications of trying to stay healthy when I was a kid. That's something that you're not really front of mind, or at least for me, that wasn't on my like top 10 things to look out for when I was a kid.
Yes. What would you say like your process is? Do you even have like a typical routine with making music or like,
Yeah,
yeah,
I do. So for many years, I've been working with this guy, Mike Monday. Shout out to Mike Monday. It's his process, but I used it. The best way to explain it that I've explained, it's the easiest way for me to explain it. He explains it much better than me, but the best way I can explain it is that it's like the NCAA tournament bracket, right? So you just start by making shitloads of ideas, and then they're all over here in this column, and then you're just kind of moving them over and they're whittling down. So you make 200 ideas and you end up with a 10-track album. Do you know what I mean? And it's just kind of like this process. There's much more involved in like the way that you look at the columns and what they're called and everything. But go check out Mike Monday if you want to know all that shit. But that's kind of how I work, and trying to work on multiple files at the same time, somewhat helpful, and not getting too caught up in just beating a file to death because that's the file you're working on and then you have to finish it. That's a I can get stuck in that loop a lot, and I try to get off of that. I'll just move to another song. It's that never gets any easier. I will say, just the constant ideation, whittling down, and like, where are you? Are you making loops? Are you in the making the finish ones? Like, I don't know.
On one hand, it's like I can envision making electronic music. You're spending a lot of time just tinkering around behind a keyboard. But
Yeah.
then, when I also think about being an artist, like a lot of times making art is a spiritual thing for people. I'm curious, like with that continuum, like what that's like for you, like if making music is a spiritual thing for you.
Yeah, sometimes. I This is kind of a question that makes me wish I learned how to do this like Mark Revelay, like beardy man. I just loop it and it's going, and then I just loop the next thing, and then I just loop the next thing. That is really not the way I work at all, but it looks so more, much more jammy and more like, to your question, like uplifting than what I'm like going in and just needling everything. I don't know what I just have like, I'll play a loop for like 30 minutes straight and just fix one thing. It's so annoying. It's so stupid, but that's how I do it.
So what is like your favorite part of the process? Would it be maybe like performing live? Like what's the thing that like the juice is worth the squeeze?
finishing a track is the best. Then DJing is performing is my next favorite thing. Finishing a track is like, I don't know why, it's just the best feeling. I could be happy for like a few days just finishing a track and not even releasing the track, just finishing it. Just because it takes so much intense thinking and time and listening. And the worst feeling in the flip side of that is finishing a track and DJing in it and it sucks. That's got to be the worst. That's like the absolute worst, as opposed to the best, which is finishing it and everyone loves it.
This is Flowers on the Stage, a podcast about being creative and finding success. To support it, please check out our sponsors, New Belgium Brewing and Thrax CBD. And now, back to the episode.
Hey, I'd love to hear something with your creative process that you avoid doing, that you like keep yourself from doing, that you think is beneficial for you.
Yeah, kind of what I was just talking about, like listening to a loop for a really long time and just changing the hi-hat or something. That's a very counterproductive way to work. So I do that, but I try to get out of it as much as I can by by going away from a piece of music for a while and then coming back and just doing an initial first listen, making a list, like a concise list of things that I would do, and then just going through the list, because everything else is just sidetrack. And when you make the list, don't say fix the bass line. That's not a list item. You have to say, no, this note goes up a half step and this go whatever, like, or the patch needs to sound more like a MS-20. You need like a specific instruction. You can't just be like, make the drums better, because that's just like a huge sidetrack.
Yeah, like especially electronic music is so abstract and infinite. Like it can be anything and it can have so many variations that like finding that disciplined focus to have that next few steps feels like the biggest challenge of all, because you could kind of just like recess, just like scribble around and just fixate on things forever.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people who really struggle with getting out of that idea phase because they just can't settle on anything. And it's tough. And then you always hear something like later that day and you're like, oh man, that song's so good. Or whatever, everybody has the same vibe.
I'd love to hear the backstory of your thinking behind switching it up from Claude to Barclay Crenshaw.
I kind of knew that we weren't going to be doing our two festivals, or I had an intuition about it, and it just got too risky. And then I sold the record label. This all kind of happened at the same time, and I sold the record label because I had just done everything that I could do or would do, and then I was just kind of repeating. I was just at that point where that I always said that I would get out at, where it was like, I'm just doing the same shit again. Like there's nothing happening new from me. I'm not saying that the new owner can't go crazy, but I was just there. I was so there that I literally, the day that I sold it, I was like, okay, I'm out of house music. I wasn't just like out of selling Dirtybird. I was like, okay, now I'm not doing even that kind of music anymore. I'm leaving. And so that took me about It took me about 6 months to get my head together, and then it took me about 6 months to make the first album. And then that's where we are. I'm touring the first album, and I've made like 2 or 3 new songs since then.
Do you feel like you kind of have a vision of the next few years?
No, which is cool
That's
because
fun.
I kind of did know every little thing that I was doing before, and that was okay, but it's not like exciting. Uh, I just got incrementally. Oh, we moved up one time slot, like whatever for 20 years. You know what I mean? Like, and now I'm like, I don't know if anyone's gonna book me at all. I don't know if I just released a rap track. I don't know it, if anyone liked it. Whatever,
I thought it was
doesn't
pretty
matter.
sweet,
Thank you.
but it
Just
doesn't
like,
matter.
just like, but that took me a long time to get to the point where I was like, okay, you can do it. You can actually just do that. You're allowed. You know what? You're not restricted. You can do a rap track. It's okay. Who gives a fuck?
We got to get you with that silk robe and the Mark Reveille synth pads. The so before I let you go, definitely want to hear more about Nasty Channel, story behind that, Imperial Dust, and like for us laymen, speaking for myself, like what are these things?
Yeah, so the Imperial Dust is just the company that released the Nasty Channel. And the Nasty Channel is a plug-in that you would put into Ableton or Logic or Fruity Loops or whatever you use to make music. And it's like a modified distortion circuit. So it has a distortion at the end, and in the front, you can add like fucked up hiss noise, like radio crackle or hiss, or just so it's like you're adding sizzle onto a sound that has no top end. And then you're warming it up and then finishing it in a distortion. I don't know. That's the best way to explain it. So you're basically just destroying the signal a little bit, but it
Yeah, no,
actually
like the onset of
sounds,
the sound, you can still kind of customize to whatever, and then at the end part of the sound, it's all just distortion.
yes. So you're adding things to the sound, like some top end, but you can also filter that in and out however you want and pitch it. And then you're taking whatever you think sounds good there and then just turning up the distortion to whatever level you think sounds cool. It's just fun, a fun thing. It's not highly scientific. It sounds good. It sounds nasty, which is the whole point. And I use it.
Oh
And
yeah.
what I didn't think that I would use it on is a lot of drums. Like the drums, especially old break beats. I was really surprised because we made it for bass sounds. But after I started using it, I really actually almost even prefer it on these old breakbeats because it kind of makes them sound like they're alive. From like
Hmm.
a dusty old break, you can make it sound like it's popping, but it still sounds old.
Hmm.
So it's not like you're not like turning into some normally someone would take an old breakbeat and they would like replace all the sounds so they would get the feel of the breakbeat, but it'd be super modern. This is like you're keeping the breakbeat, but you're actually making it sound up to date, but you're keeping the original vibe of it. Like I don't know.
Yeah, like
I'm going down the wormhole of this plugin. But it's just a fun one to mess around with. You can mess around. I think there's like you get like 10 days to even just noodle around with it before it goes, like you have to put it in the serial number. So you can just fuck with it. You just go download it and fuck
Fuck
with it.
yeah. Fuck yeah. We'll have the link for that in the description, as well as his website where you can keep up with all things Barclay Crenshaw. And before I let you go, I'd love to hear what you've been listening to recently, like what up and coming artists you're stoked about now, or just in general, like what's been kind of keeping you juiced up musically.
You don't mind if I pop open my record box real quick?
Go for
Just
it.
because I can't.
Let's do it.
I have like old man memory. You know who I like? I just started seeing his YouTube videos. This rapper from the Bay Area called La Russell. You heard of this guy?
Never heard of him. La
I
Russell.
like I like it. But I'll tell you some other stuff that's more like I've been on tour with a bunch of guys this year, and they're all different and they're all really low. I'll just talk about the people that I've been on tour with. They're all awesome. And they're very like Great Dane. I love his DJ style. And he's just got more of like a LA beat scene kind of vibe, as opposed to Liney, who's doing like really upfront, ultra modern, like dubstep, trippy stuff. Super Future, I play a lot of Super Future stuff because he does a lot of rap flips that I love. Um, this guy Shanghai Doom has made some insane tracks. These are all a little bit more on the bass, like heavy bass side. Some of these recommendations. My favorite track of the moment. I love this label called Saturate out of Germany. Have you ever heard of this label?
No.
Fucking, I think it's the best label. I'm sorry, everyone.
Saturate.
Well, I'm sorry, everyone else who makes space music. It's not your fault, but no, no one else. Oh, this track Riser theme by Radiant on Saturate. So sick. That's like my kind of track. If you want to look it up, that's like a perfect track that I would play. Like a super, so simple, but it kind of messes with your brain. I have a new track coming out with the producer called Zeke Beats, and we have a track called Angel Above Earth. I think it's out in 3 weeks, and that's a heavy, heavy track. It's probably the heaviest track that I've been a part of, as far as like leaning towards that heavier dubstep, like festival sound. It's almost past where I go, but I think it's cool. It's awesome. I mean, it reminds me of like the very first tracks that I made with EPROM in 2015 when I first started this. Crawl the Eagle, if anybody remembers that track. It's in that wheelhouse. For very, very, very hard shit, Phydra, Phyydra, extremely hard. But so this is one thing that I like, some hard ass shit, but I don't like tear out dubstep, like screechy. I like it when it sounds like it's been like through a Marshall amplifier and then like dragged through a dirty like puddle and then like painted onto a poodle's back and then like run through a car wash, like a gritty sound, like Saka. I like this like gritty, like real distortion, non-serum based. How fucked up can you make it sound? Kind of hard stuff. But I also like soft stuff and funk and hip hop and everything. But whatever. I don't
They
know.
all
I
got
just
there.
That's why I made the Nasty channel. This is more of this like organic, natural distortion sound
Mm,
instead of
I
this
love
like
it.
super futuristic robot dubstep is not for me. But sometimes
You
it
need some
is. I don't
rumble.
know. I don't know what it. Yeah, I don't know. I can't tell you what's for me. It's a crapshoot.
Well, shit, Barclay, I can't wait to, hopefully do a part two of this, in a few months or in a year or whatever, and see what you're listening to then. Everyone who listened this far, we got links in the description where you can keep up with all things Barclay Crenshaw. And yeah, until next time, if you're a producer, definitely check out Nasty Channel. And can't wait to catch you on tour.
Yeah, I'm still on tour. It's festival season, so I've got a few more festivals to go, like Elements and Northern Nights and all these festivals. Secret Dreams, I think, Shambhala. There's still a bunch of festivals, and then I got probably 20 clubs, and then that's the year, I think.
Anything else in particular you're stoked about for the rest of the year? Or mainly just these shows?
If you want to check out my very first rap track, go listen to Cannibal Strings. And in a few weeks, we got the Zeke beat, more like traditional, like the Denver kids will be into that one. Angel Above Earth is the name of that track.
I
All
love
right.
it.
Thank
A
you, Cam.
legend. Shout out to you. Thank you, my man.
Thank you.